Hello, my name's Barbara Wingard. I'm here at Dulwich Centre for Narrative Therapy here in Adelaide. Michael White, the founder of this centre, and I will be here talking about his work today. I'm a very proud descendant of the Kaurna people, and I'd like to welcome you on Kaurna land. My mother's people are from Border Town in southeast of South Australia, and my father was born in Robe, South Australia, southeast of South Australia, and my grandmother was born in on Kaurna land at Point Pearce. So we've got relatives and people all over the place, but I am spiritually connected to the Kaurna people, and I follow their story very strongly. You know, the fact that we had the first black and white marriage here in South Australia makes us very, very proud of that. And that he was an Englishman. School wasn't very good for me, like a lot of Aboriginal people, because we were very shy and the school system didn't quite know what to do with us. So many of us were put in opportunity class. But it was really good for me to think that I used to look after other people, because they were all being called dummies in that classroom. And one of the highlights in my life was when the teacher put me in charge. I'll never forget it. I think that changed my life forever. Yeah. So being a very mature young woman, I ended up getting married at 16. And I had twins when I was nearly 17. And I lost one twin. He lived for 2 days, Michael. But I had a surviving twin. But I ended up with 3 other children. So I had 2 sons and a daughter by the time I was 21. But my marriage didn't last, so I was bringing up my children on my own with the help of my mother, because my father passed away when he was 39. He didn't reach 40 when he died. Yeah, so my mum was a big part of my life, and it was to make it easier for me to go and get work. So I went to Murray Bridge. I applied for a job that was a health worker's position in Murray Bridge, and I succeeded in getting that job. And I cried. I'd never ever thought that I would end up with a government job. In my job in Aboriginal health, they were very gracious in releasing me to do some work with Michael White. Because I lived in Murray Bridge, Michael White and my boss, Timmy Aegis, received some funding to do some work around deaths in custody. So we ended up having a camp at Camp Coorong, and that was for a whole week. And my memory and what I can still see is the way all those families came together. You could just see them getting off buses and out of the cars, and the sadness that was on their faces, and their heads were all down, you know, was really low, because they were coming to this place. And but it was their workshop. They'd planned this workshop, and the whole week was organised around what they wanted, not how we wanted to run it, which was very important. So we would put some people in very small little groups, and we would talk about every group would have something different to talk about. One group might want to be talking just about families. Some people might be talking about the youth, the young people. Somebody might be talking about the health. There's different little things that each group would be talking about. And we'd make sure we'd have somebody there that would actually record what they're saying, write it down, and then we would go back into bigger groups. And then the people that are recording it would get in the middle of a big circle, and all the recorders would go and sit in the middle, and we would read out what people were saying in each group. And it was very meaningful. And then we would ask the people what they thought about what they heard, because what they were hearing is their own voices about their own issues. And one lady described it as, she said it was like watching a video and rewinding it. That's how it came across to them. So it was a very meaningful, wonderful way of collecting these stories. And then once again, there would be people in that big circle that would be documenting the responses of the people. Externalising is when we start looking at the problem, because the problem is the problem and not the person. And to give you a bit of an example of that, people, even nowadays, they'll say, oh, they're just a mob of drunks, or, they're druggies. But what we try to get people to do with our therapy is to look at that drug or the grog as the problem and not the person. The Tree of Life's been around a long time, and it's used in different ways, and every tree is basically different. Now, the roots all represent their history, people's history, who they are and where they're from, and acknowledging people that are no longer here with us any longer as well. So people are inclined to write down people's names if they can, because in some cultures they don't use names of deceased people. But it's a beautiful way of looking at our history, and it keeps us grounded, about who we are and where we're from. And it also includes our future as well. The trunk can mean many, many different things, but it does include your hopes and dreams in life. And the branches, they can represent the difficult times that we have in our lives. The branches can also include people who support us as well. And then you can have some leaves, and there's fruit. There's fruits of our lives where you can be looking into your future and what your future would look like to you. School children love it. This is something that's been practiced in many, many schools, because children love doing trees. And it also tells their little stories. It can also tell stories of difficult times in their lives. And this is why we look at some of the things that affect the tree, and that could be the storms, the fires, and many other disasters that we have in Australia that can affect the trees. And people can look at those effects and compare them to some troubled times that they had in their life as well. It was a very proud moment for both Chad and myself to actually launch that top at the Port Adelaide Football Club, and we're very grateful to Port Adelaide Football Club for allowing us to make this possible, and for them to help us with it as well. I love the narrative practice. I believe many of us live our lives like that, where we respect people and listen to other people. But I always believe if we can, with our work, if we can make a difference with one person, you've achieved a lot.